Welcome to Old Dog, Young Bull. Old school meets new wave as Joe Old Dog Mays and Charlie Young Bull Forrester deliver a multimedia discussion of all things sports. Now settle in as Joe and Charlie come strong here on Old Dog, Young Bull. Welcome to Old Dog, Young Bull. We are the sports podcast that focuses on the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, probably some hockey, Major League Soccer. Who knows what all else we're going to get into. I am the Old Dog, Joe Mays.
I'm the Young Bull, Charlie Forster.
And we are here to talk. We're in the midst of playoff season, college playoffs, NFL playoffs. Yeah, NBA's up and rolling. My son Brady posted a video of young Cooper Flagg going bananas down the lane. So yeah, we're getting ready to make the transition here in a few weeks. But for now, we are still in the heart of football season.
Yeah. Football is definitely at the best point. But talking about the Mavs just a little bit, thank God for Cooper Flagg, because without him, we would be in absolutely a dumpster fire.
Yeah, I would love to say that the Anthony Davis phantom injury, I'm still not sure. I haven't seen a good picture of what happened to him or good video clip of what happened.
I don't think the Mavs even saw it.
Yeah, the reality is, and Bill Walton went through some of this, it's rare to have someone who is 7 feet tall and not have structural challenges associated. It's just rare. That's why you get somebody like Kareem that played so long. He's such a rarity. Shaquille O'Neal, he carried a lot of extra muscle tone and some pizza. But even that broke down. Even as strong and as muscular as he was, he eventually broke down. And it's just going to happen. I'd hate to see it. Anthony Davis has had I think he's made a name for himself, but unfortunately, I just don't think he has been everything he could have been had it not been for the injuries.
Yeah, I mean, he's just going down as arguably the worst trade the Dallas Mavs have ever made, and probably the worst trade we've seen in sports. He's played a total of 29 games since the trade to Dallas. And yeah, it's not like this was not something that was to be expected. And that's why the whole entire verbiage of we were trading this because our player that we wanted to get rid of couldn't stay healthy and thought he would break down long term. And then they traded for the guy that literally his nickname is Street Clothes. And it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah, I hate it by all indications. He's a good guy. Anthony Davis is a good human, but just, unable to deliver. But the good news is I think he's positioned himself well to have a successful and happy life beyond the NBA. And unfortunately, I think that time is coming more quickly than we would have hoped. So,
and if that's the case, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. You trade a franchise player for a guy that maybe it will medically retire. And honestly, that would probably be the best case scenario for the Mavs.
Yeah.
Because his trade value is at an all-time low. And no way you're trading for a player in his prime like the Lakers got in Luka Doncic for him. And they couldn't even trade him away whenever he was semi-healthy before this hand injury. And now he's going to go into an offseason looking for another massive contract. And the Mavs are in a position to be forced to either give him that or trade him for pennies on the dollar. And that's just this Mavs team is in purgatory.
Yeah, I can't see a positive outcome for either one of them. This injury came at the worst possible time for Anthony Davis as well. but yeah, like you said, there's no very little trade value there for him. Got a contract coming up. Is he just going to float out as a free agent? Just, hey, thanks a lot. Have a nice day. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's
That's
not
crazy.
pretty. Um, the other big surprise before we dive back into football, the other big surprise to me is that the Pistons are leading the Eastern Conference. They've crept ahead of the Knicks by a couple of games. Celtics riding in three, but yeah, the Pistons making their way to the top of the rankings.
It's a DFW boy and good old Kate Cunningham. He went to can't remember the high school, but he grew up in Arlington. Um and yeah, the Pistons, it's crazy the turnaround that they've kind of made. But basketball is better whenever there's good basketball in Detroit.
Absolutely,
And it's been so long since Detroit has had a serviceable team. Um, so yeah, good for them. I'm rooting for them. Because again, basketball is more fun whenever the Pistons are competitive.
absolutely. I like to see the Pistons, like to see the Bucks, like to see the Knicks, and the
Yeah,
Knicks are riding pretty high right now as well. That makes for a good, well-rounded NBA landscape, and it's fun to watch. Oklahoma City, meanwhile, they've cooled off a little bit after their blazing hot start, but they're still, what, 34-7, something like that?
yeah, I believe so.
So they are just kind of, not gonna take down the Warriors record, doesn't look like, but they are, yeah, they're positioning themselves for the long haul, and they appear to be for real.
Yeah, yeah. The NBA is kind of wide open at this point in time. There's no true like number one team. Um, just good basketball being played throughout. And even like the Lakers situation, they're kind of in a tough spot too.
Yeah,
Um, because without, I mean, this team around Luca is not designed for a skill set like Luca,
100%.
and I just don't feel like they really have turned a page and started to build a team around him. I mean, DeAndre Ayton, I guess, was close, but he's not a rim runner, and
Yeah.
really, you need a defensive rim runner to pair with Luca, and then you need outside shooters all around him. And it just feels like there's a bunch of shot creators and not really much 3 and D kind of wings around them.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a lot of activity as we get close to what is it, February 4th,
I believe so.
something like that. The trade deadline, I think we're gonna start to see some movement here in the next couple of weeks, but you talk about a team whose roster fell apart with one major injury with Halliburton out. The Pacers are now sitting at the bottom of the East, only 9 wins. They're sitting at 9-31 after making a deep run into the playoffs last year.
But that's the way to do it. You
Yeah.
know, if your star player gets hurt, um, fall to the bottom of the floor. Um,
Yeah, get a high draft pick, pair him up with your recovered Halliburton. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good point.
you at least hope that you get a high draft pick. Of course, the NBA lottery every now and again um, can kind of shock things.
Yeah, kinda like, Dallas getting the overall first pick with Cooper Flag on there right after the Luka moving Luka out to, LA.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, the frozen lottery ticket, the
The frozen ping
folded,
pong
yeah,
ball. Yeah,
frozen ping pong ball, and the folded over, the corner folded over on the Knicks pick for Patrick Ewing. Yeah, there's a long history of
yeah.
spurious goings on in the NFL draft or NBA draft lottery.
Oh, 110%. Yeah, they're definitely not beating the allegations. So
Yeah, so we will be picking that up. That'll pick up more here again in a couple of weeks. We're keeping an eye on that. We'll be ready to dive in once we get past the All-Star game and the Super Bowl. But yeah, we are rolling in. And speaking of playoff football, we have got the college football championship. The first 12-team playoff bracket is now set for the championship round or the championship game at Hard Rock Stadium. Indiana, 8.5 point favorites over Miami in South Florida.
yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Both of these teams, though, you know, Miami has had a track record of of winning national championships, specifically back in the early 2000s, 1990s, and
Yep.
then way back when. But Indiana, just the story, kind of a Cinderella story. Rose to the top of the NCAA rankings, and then essentially just dominating throughout the entire college football playoffs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's not a better story than Indiana um, in college football.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Gonna pause just a second.
Yeah.
Diane, can we keep it down a little bit, please? Thank you. Sorry
Um,
about that.
and so uh, Indiana, I really feel like them being an 8.5 point favorite in this game, specifically whenever they're going on the road into Hard Rock Stadium um, with Miami. Um, that's that's incredible to me.
Here's the only thing. I agree that going into Hard Rock, it seems odd that they would be favored by that much. But if you look at the where they ranked number 2 nationally this year behind our beloved UNT, North Texas Eagles, Mean Green. But Indiana was number 2, the scoring offense at 42.6 points per game. Miami,
10.
yeah, exactly. Miami was 30th. They were at 31, so they're no slouches. The difference comes in Indiana was also second in defense, allowing only 11, little over 11 points per game, behind only Ohio State, who was at 9.29 points per game. Miami's defense pretty solid. They allowed 14 points per game. So really, it's the you've got the force of the offenses, both of which are capable of scoring a lot of points, going against some no kidding robust defenses. So I think it's going to come down to which coach is better or putting his team in a better position to win in these circumstances.
Yeah, and it's a coin flip to me, which is why I go back to the venue, because I really feel like it can be essentially a home game for the U. Um, and Miami's defense really is the calling card for them.
Yep.
They have such a strong defensive line, with Ruben Bain, of course, leading that way, and they essentially can shut down, you know, pretty good offenses. Um, but their offense, I think, is what's a little bit underrated. Malachi Corley, besides Jeremiah Smith in the NCAA, he might be the best skill player in college football. I think he's going to be a high first round pick whenever he comes out in the NFL draft. And that explosiveness, um, I feel like can hurt Indiana. Indiana's a very well-rounded team, and definitely they have the better quarterback, whenever it comes to Carson Beck and Fernando Mendoza. But I think both of these teams are just very well-rounded, and I know Miami comes in at 30th, in total offense, but the way they've been playing in the college football playoff, um, yeah, it's gonna be tough.
I think both teams have play a similar their offenses are very opportunistic, and the defenses tend to give their offenses lots of opportunities.
Definitely.
I think we're going to see this game, like most games, championship games in particular, hinging on turnovers. Which defense can force the most turnovers? Which defense can put the other team playing behind the sticks? That kind of thing. I personally think that Indiana is for real, and as fun a game as it could be, I think that they're going to come out fast and strong, as they did against Oregon. So I think that that's what we're going to see next Monday night at Hard Rock. Is they're just going to come right out of the gate blasting. Having said that, so I've got them winning the game. I'm picking them
Ooh,
to
okay.
to win it. Having said that, it is possible that if they come out and stumble at all, or if Miami's defense can cause a turnover early, that could change the entire tempo and complexion of the game. So that's my caveat. But having said that, yeah, I've got Indiana winning this by more than the spread if you're so inclined to be a better. I am not. I do not recommend following my recommendations, but I think, yeah, it'll be, Indiana 38-21.
I don't know. I know we'll touch on it, but you did go 6-0 in the NFL playoff predictor, so you got a little bit of some good betting advice.
Li
I would add.
Little momentum, yeah.
But in this national championship, the team that I'm definitely rooting for is Indiana. Anytime you have a Cinderella story, in any sort of sport, it's hard not to root for him. And Coach Sig, seeing him on the sideline, it's one of those coaches that you wanna root for. He seems like he can be a hard ass, but his players love him,
Mhm.
and those kind of coaches I absolutely, appreciate, and Fernando Mendoza is just a perfect story, coming over from Cal, kind of very overlooked, and then, just absolutely skyrocketed not only up the college ranks in history, being a Heisman winner, but now we're talking a potential number 1 overall pick. That's just an incredible story.
Yeah, and you were talking about the Hurricanes playing in their home stadium. Fernando Mendoza, also a South Florida product.
Oh, I did
So
not know
he
that.
yeah, he's going home as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But with all that being said, I still feel like home field advantage is a real thing. And I feel like if you're going into South Florida, that is hurricane country. And no matter it's a very tough environment to go in, specifically already on a scale that is a national championship. The Miami players are going to be waking up at home and being able to go into this game, in their town, whereas Indiana is going to have to travel in, stay at a hotel, have to be very close knit already in a huge environment. So I have the Hurricanes winning. I have them essentially pulling off the upset. And it's insane that they essentially are playing a national championship at home. But I think that's going to be a dramatic difference in this game.
Yeah, yeah, that you bring up a really good point, and I think that this is a substantially more important factor in the college ranks than it is in the NFL. When you're playing playoff games on the road are hard anywhere. Any big game is hard on the road. For college kids, and let's face it, that's what these guys are, young professionals, if you will.
Mhm.
But it's a different vibe. And like you said, Coach Sig depends on how he approaches it, how he's able to prepare his team to uh, gel, to stay focused on the road, playing against that home team. He's got his work cut out for him. It's a
Yeah.
good point.
And all the regular stuff is just thrown out the window. Whenever it comes to a game like this, it's hard to get, players to kind of calm down in this environment. And that's why it's always normally played on a neutral field, and not played, in the hometown of of a team. And that's why I just feel like it's too much of an advantage for Miami. Um, and the quarterback for Miami, he he's been there. He hasn't played, but he's been at this stage and seen it, and kind of had to watch it and watch his team that he led throughout the entire year win a national championship. So he already has a little bit of understanding of what this game entails. And I think that's another advantage for Miami.
Yeah, and you talked about the stability that I'm putting words in your mouth, but stability that Carson Beck will bring to the Hurricanes.
Yep.
And on the other side with Fernando Mendoza, you've got an experienced quarterback who's in command of that offense. That's the thing I think that's most impressed me. He can make all the throws and do all the things, but his stable presence, keeping the offense focused on task. Their focus is on him. leading the team, leading the offense, not on the defense that's attacking them. And I think that's one of the things you're going to see. Both sides are led by veteran quarterbacks that are going to be in a position to lead their teams through the emotion, particularly the emotion early in the game.
Yeah.
That's when things are really sort of at their peak.
Yeah, and his decision making is so incredible. And that's why, once he gets to the NFL, if he can pair up with a quarterback that arguably was the best decision maker of all time, that's a scary combo.
And I'm gonna say this, and this is a little bit absurd, I know, but watching Mendoza play, he reminded me of a cross between Brady's decision making and Brady's command of the offense and Peyton Manning's mechanical precision in delivering the football. He reminds me a little bit of Manning throwing the ball. Excuse me, but yeah, Brady and his command of the offense. So I know that's heady
That's high praise.
high praise, but that's what he remind. And I did not go into the playoffs in particular expecting to be a big fan of Mendoza's.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that Dante Moore was going to be the guy that the Raiders were looking at. I think that Mendoza is the right guy for the right place. You need a mature guy who can come in, survive the upheaval and the storms that are bound to come as the Raiders try to turn things around. But
Well,
uh,
and you just touched on Dante Moore, so I kind of wanna expand off of that. Dante Moore, of course, today decided that he's coming back to school, and so he decided that the number 2 overall pick was not worth it enough for him. So he's going back to Oregon, which Oregon just got in a transfer from Nebraska and Dylan Raiola, and so now he's going to be in kind of a competition with, a quarterback that has some skin on the wall, all because he didn't want to go be a New York Jet. And that's just insane to me.
kind of can't blame him, but also and I told you this 2 or 3 weeks ago, having watched Dante Moore, I firmly believe that another year will make a huge difference for Dante Moore. He's got a lot of skills, reminds me a little bit of Caleb Williams in Chicago. Similar play set, his ability to throw off platform and deliver the ball effectively. I just think his decision making needs a little bit of work. His command of the pocket, his command of the decision making you mentioned about Mendoza. I think those are things that will only get better with Dante Moore. So I think that this is the right move for him. And again, I told you that a couple of weeks ago that I thought that another year in college would serve him well. So wish him nothing but the best. And yeah, things could get exciting there in Eugene.
And he's had what, I think, um, like 15 career starts,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. Um, so he's very young, um, and doesn't have much experience. And there was some sort of statistic that I saw that quarterbacks with the amount of starts that they have before they get into the NFL, it's like you're talking like Justin Fields and um, there were a couple other more quarterbacks that essentially fizzled out after being high picks. And so going back to school might be the smartest option, but more if you're sitting in a spot where you can be the second overall pick, it's kind of speaks to the NIL money, um, to where you essentially are getting paid equivalent, of course not long term,
Sure.
uh, and so it's more enticing, I guess. But to see a player essentially say, "Nah, I don't want to go into the draft and be a number 2 overall pick." I don't know if I've seen that really in years prior than this.
Well, and I think when you look at, I think a quarterback who doesn't have a lot of starts, and there's somebody that's in the back of my mind, and name will jump into my head here in a minute. But if they don't have a lot of starts at the college level, are at a huge disadvantage when they move into the NFL. When you've got a young quarterback that just doesn't have the reps, it puts them at a distinct disadvantage. And you get a guy like Dante Moore, he's 20 years old. He's got all the intangibles. He's got all of the physical attributes. I think the only thing he needs, and this was, again, my observation a couple weeks ago, all he needs is reps. He needs reps under center. He needs to see every freaky defense that a defensive coordinator can come up with in college. He needs to see every possible thing. Let the game slow down for him in college where he's in full command, like Mendoza appears to be in most cases, and Carson Beck even doesn't have near the talent, but he's got that kind of command. Then as he rolls into the NFL, it puts him in a better position to be effective when he rolls in and he's not having to play catch up and you get a guy like Justin Fields who's had to scramble just to try and be effective in the NFL. But anyway, yeah, I think it's the right move for Dante Moore. I wish him nothing but the best. I think that he is going to be special when his time comes. I just think he needs the starts under center before he's ready.
Definitely.
As you mentioned, I finally hit an undefeated week. I went 6-0 this past week during Wildcard Weekend. What the hell?
Insane.
Jaguars and the Eagles let you down, man.
Yeah, I would say one team let me down. The other team just happened to win a game that I wished both teams would have lost.
Yeah, I heard.
Um, but yeah, it's always good whenever the Eagles lose. So not too disappointed that the 49ers won. But dang, did I think Jacksonville was gonna pull it off.
Yeah, and they almost did. This was, yeah, they're uh, um, Liam Cohen turning this around quickly in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence looking like the Trevor Lawrence that people expected when he came out of Clemson. Yeah, this was a special Jaguars team, and I think they're built for the long run. Now, Travis Etienne is potentially headed out of town. They need to
I
find a
don't
way
even
to
know if
keep
that's
him.
their best back.
Yeah, but I think it was the combination of backs. I agree with you. I think the fact that they had the two backs,
Yeah.
similar to what you got in Seattle, similar to what you have in New England, where you've got a tandem of backs, the old Browns combination, the old Giants going way back. That makes a huge difference when you've got two backs that can split the load. And you saw a little bit of that with Houston Monday night against Pittsburgh. Good old 77-year-old Nick Chubb still out there carrying the ball, and Marks.
Woody.
Woody Marks. He had a big night. Now he doesn't always show up. He's a little less consistent than Chubbs is, but when those two are firing, they give CJ Stroud a whole lot of space to breathe. But yeah, I think Jacksonville um, has that structure. So they need to find a way to either keep or replace Travis Etienne um, to keep that offense going. But yeah, they were what a turnaround for them.
Yeah, incredible. Absolutely incredible. And unfortunately just got dealt a crappy hand. You know, you have um a team in Buffalo whose quarterback had been in big games, big moments in the playoffs, and um yeah, you could just tell Josh Allen didn't want to lose that game.
I tell you, the two most vivid images that came out of this weekend for me were Kittle for the 49ers when he stepped back with that right foot. I told your mom, I said, "Oh, that's his Achilles." I didn't see the window shade up higher in the calf when it first happened, but just the angle and the direction. I said, "Hopefully it's just hyperextended knee," but that sure looked like an Achilles, which it turned out to be. The other one was when Josh Allen, they were down on the 10 or the 11, and he went for the tush push, and literally his feet were off the ground. He was lifted up and carried and pushed forward by the offensive lineman. So he was carrying the ball. The offensive line was carrying him down to the 1 yard line. That's kind of when you knew that, other than that 40-yard pass thrown off his back foot, but once they carried Josh Allen down to the goal line, yeah, you kind of knew it was Buffalo's day.
Yeah. And this might be their year.
Could be. Those are the kinds of things that have to go right if you're going to win a Super Bowl. You got to have those weird things that happen that put you in a position to beat a team like Jacksonville, who many saw as having all the pieces they need to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah, you got to win some of those games weird ways, and I think that's what Buffalo did this weekend.
Now, uh just question for you. Um, what is the team who do you think was the best looking team with the wild card round?
That is a really good question, and this week we talked about this last week going into Wildcard Weekend. This was a wide open field,
Right.
and I don't think that has changed. I think it's still wide open. None of the teams that I saw looked dominant to the point where this is a team prepared to make a Super Bowl run. The Rams could have lost easily to Carolina.
Insane.
Carolina has turned things around quickly there, with Dave Canales.
But
Um,
but they fell backwards into the playoffs and then absolutely were throwing haymakers against.
and keep in mind, they beat LA during the regular season.
That's true.
So that they weren't intimidated. They were ready to play football and they were at home. So, um, yeah, that one I kind of thought that game wasn't the Rams looking dominant. Chicago, Green Bay also, that was haymakers, heavyweight fight.
Goodness.
Uh,
Until the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden the giant woke up.
yeah. San Francisco, they are held together with bubble gum and baling wire at this point. Just about the time you think you can't get any worse, it does.
But didn't they look tough?
They did. They've looked scrappy, and they're the kind of team that you just don't want to stick around.
100%.
Don't let them hang around because they're gonna find a way.
What is up with these 6 seeds, coming in looking the part?
Yeah, that one was, San Francisco is the closest that I've seen. This weekend will be a big tell. They're going up Seattle against Seattle for the 3rd time this year.
God, and those teams hate each other.
Yeah, and that's a hell of a rivalry
Yep.
that's percolating there. Um So yeah, to answer your question, I haven't seen any team that I would point to and say that's the team that's on the roll. They're they have all the pieces. They look like a championship team. The closest I've seen, if I had to pick one of them,
Yeah,
and again, we'll find out after this weekend, Buffalo.
yeah,
I'm so concerned about San Francisco's injuries.
that's fine.
Brock Purdy's a wizard back there. He's a magician. Having Trent Williams back helps tremendously.
Mhm.
But their defense is cobbled together. So I just don't see it as them. But Buffalo, now I've got my pick them all the way through to the Super Bowl um, against Seattle, but they could be the team because there's so many factors other than what's on paper. And on paper, they've got a great defense, they've got a great run game, great run defense, Josh Allen. So all the pieces are there, but they haven't been consistent this year. But what they have is they're singularly focused. They're locked in. They don't really have the nobody believes in us, although everybody this time of year tries to play the nobody believes in us card.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think they've got some of the intangibles that um, bode well for them. I think the big nobody believed in this team that's still left in the playoffs is Seattle. But again, I think that game will be very telling this weekend. San Francisco, Seattle could be a lot of fun.
yeah, absolutely agree.
So yeah, there's my assessment of who's the Super Bowl looking team. Short answer, I don't know. And
Yeah.
we'll get into the picks here in a little bit. I want to talk, if we can steal a few minutes about coaches, NFL
Ooh,
coaching.
yes, please.
We've got 9 openings right now. Uh, Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon gone. The Titans, Brian Callahan in October, should have been done in April. The Browns, of course, Kevin Stefanski's on the streets. Brian Dable cut loose in November with the Giants. Raheem Morris in Atlanta. Mike McDaniel in Miami. Of course, Pete Carroll from the Raiders. And then the two kind of surprising ones, John Harbaugh with the Ravens and Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. How surprised? Let's start with how surprised were you at Tomlin leaving Pittsburgh?
Not surprised at all. Um, I I felt like, I don't know. I go back to a tweet I saw early in the year, from Josina Anderson, that there was an NFL coach that was a longtime NFL coach with this team, was ready to have a change of scenery. And initially, whenever I read that, I was like, "Ah, yeah, that's Tomlin." Just the amount of absolute disdain, the Pittsburgh Steelers have essentially just flooded Mike Tomlin with over the years, that, essentially just can't get us over the hump and all that kind of nonsense, instead of actually blaming the personnel department.
Right.
Um, I just felt like Mike Tomlin, it was his time, and I think that had Tyler Luke made that field goal at the end of the year, that would have been it. I think, Mike Tomlin essentially, that kick saved him another week. But I think at the end of the day, he was planning on leaving, no matter the outcome.
Yeah, you get a guy like that that's maybe a victim of his own early success. Super Bowl winning head coach with the Steelers early on in his tenure there, and then just has been well publicized. Last seven playoff appearances, no playoff victories.
Yeah.
Um,
I will say the John Harbaugh one surprised me more than the Tomlin one did. Just because you've had so many quality replacements for John Harbaugh,
mm,
specifically as defensive coaches. Um, and they haven't replaced him, and then all of a sudden, this is the year that they decide to move on. Um, I just thought, there was a little bit more belief and trust in John Harbaugh than the Ravens have shown and the owner has shown, afterwards, but, after listening to the owner speak for these past week, um, yeah, they have a horrible owner.
who, the
Um,
Steelers or the
the
Ravens?
Ravens.
Yeah, that was
It's
handled. They fired him on the road on the way on the phone.
yes,
Yeah,
a Super Bowl winning coach,
yeah.
you know,
Again,
yeah, a coach that led you to the promised land. They weren't doing that with Brian Billick, but then his comments about, a reporter asked, "What is Lamar's involvement, in the coaching search?" And he said, "None. I'm the leader here."
yeah.
And it's like, dude, okay, I get it. You're the owner. Obviously, you're the leader here. What are you doing going and absolutely running your franchise quarterback through the mud?
Yeah, and that one in particular caught my ear. He's sort of trying to pressure Lamar into a contract extension that's similar to what he signed last time, 3 years ago. Um, if I'm Lamar, I'm taking a long, serious look at, who's getting hired in Miami. I
Mm.
don't see he's a South Florida guy again. I don't
Oh, okay. I
s
didn't know that.
I don't see Las Vegas being a particularly enticing destination for Lamar.
I don't either. I think
Although as a
yeah,
Raider, I would love to see Lamar come in, but yeah,
yeah. I think another team in the South, though.
Atlanta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Atlanta would make so much sense.
Yeah, Atlanta makes sense for Harbaugh. Now there were rumblings out of the Ravens locker room that Harbaugh and Lamar were not on the best of terms, that was part of some of the tension that was building around the team. Lots of conjecture. Generally, there's some measure of fire if there's that level of smoke, but it's likely something that was blown out of proportion. You've got a coach that's going to challenge players and push them to get better. It's just what coaches do.
Right.
So yeah, sure, there may have been some tension between Lamar and John Harbaugh, but had was that the reason that they ran Harbaugh off? I think right now, if I'm the Ravens, my big concern is whether or not Lamar is committed to staying or if he is going to start looking for some better landing spots.
Well, I mean, whenever your owner essentially is shit talking you in the media,
Yeah.
um, that doesn't really bode well. And I think it's incredibly distasteful. That is a multiple time MVP, and Ravens would be absolutely in turmoil if they didn't have Lamar.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, he put him in a position to win that last game of the season. He
right.
he did his part.
And I just feel like, unfortunately for John Harbaugh, I think there's one destination that makes total sense, and I think it's almost inevitable that it's gonna happen.
To Atlanta? Harbaugh to Atlanta?
No.
Harbaugh where?
I believe John Harbaugh will be the next coach of the New York Football Giants.
Yeah, that makes too much sense. I agree with you there. He's had conversations. He's had, exploratory. I'll get to the Raiders here
They
in a
just
minute,
flew
but
him out on their own team jet. New York did. And even Jackson Dart was at the Ole Miss Miami game, and on the sideline there was, some hot mic that brought up that the next coach would be either Harbaugh or Stefanski, and I can't see Kevin Stefanski getting that job.
nope.
I think it's a shoe-in that John Harbaugh will be the next Giants coach, and I hate that.
Yeah, because I think that that's gonna instantly, given some of the pieces that are in New York, I think that's gonna instantly create an environment in the Meadowlands that has the Giants because they were scrappy this year, w way
110%.
way understaffed, and they had some huge holes, but there
They got
was
just absolutely depleted by injuries.
yeah.
Number 1 receiver, number 1 running back,
Quarterback was out for a chunk of the season.
quarterback. Yeah. I think if you're looking for stability, Harbaugh has as many accolades on the wall as any coaching candidates out there.
Yeah, that's a fact. Tomlin, by all indications, are that he is looking for a break. Our Rooney II said today that the impression he got, and he wasn't going to speak for Tomlin, was that this was more family focused than it was dissatisfaction with Pittsburgh. Of course, you never really know what's going on behind closed doors, how much pressure there was from the ownership team. I think that's one thing that Cowher got to the same position with Pittsburgh. The pressure is there. Their stand, like Tomlin always says, the standard is the standard, and in Pittsburgh, the standard is Lombardi's. Full stop. They specifically don't celebrate division championships. They don't celebrate those teams that go to the Super Bowl. They only want to celebrate those Super Bowl winning teams, and that's a lot of pressure. So it's possible Tomlin just said, "Yeah, I need to bounce for a while." Indications are he's going to go to the booth. He's got a couple opportunities apparently floating out there, but he's not intending to go back to the sidelines this coming year.
And who was the player on Ted Lasso that was the coach as well at one point, but then he went to the media?
Yeah,
Was it Roy something?
Roy Kent.
Roy Kent, yeah.
Yeah,
Mike Tomlin's gonna be like Roy Kent in the media.
he's here.
Just
He's there.
absolutely a
He's every
curmudgeon.
fucking where
Yeah,
Roy Kent. Yeah,
just absolutely curmudgeon. And someone's gonna ask him, what they thought of the play, and
he's going to tell him.
yeah, I can't imagine it's gonna be colorful, in a
Yeah,
positive sense. Maybe in a rougher sense, but yeah, Mike Tomlin is a joy.
yeah.
So I'm excited to see wherever he goes.
I would love to see him on the Raiders sideline
Oh,
putting a Raiders culture together. I just if all the indications and the reports are to be believed, he needs a break. He wants to spend time with his family, and that's obviously something you can't do as an NFL head coach, particularly when you're trying to create order out of chaos in a franchise.
it's the same thing that Bill Cowher did, and
Yep.
then Bill Cowher got sucked into media, and he'll stay with it. I
Good gig, man.
I would be shocked if he doesn't go to CBS.
Who,
Because I
Tomlin?
always feel like if a Cowboys coach retires, he probably can bookmark him for Fox. If a Steelers coach retires, you can almost book him for CBS.
Well, the thing is, this is only the second Steelers coach in your lifetime.
That's fair.
So yeah, you're getting ready to see your third. That's bizarre.
Well, I think what
Only
it was
three,
the third in your lifetime. Only
three,
3 coaches.
three coaches since 1969. They had more before that, but yeah,
Yeah.
since 1969, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and now Mike Tomlin, former Pittsburgh Steelers coach.
Yeah. And let's play a fun game. Let's do who do we think is going to land where?
Sure. Let's take a quick run at that.
Yeah.
I've got the Raiders carved off as their own thing because I got some
Mhm.
questions and
Okay.
I have
We'll save
some
them for last
save
then.
them for last. Yeah.
So, of course, the Giants, we'll start with them.
Harbaugh, I think, yeah, that's a great call. I think that makes the most sense, and that's the best fit.
Absolutely agree. Cardinals.
I could see Stefanski going out there. He supposedly has this ability to communicate with quarterbacks that aren't in jail or aren't suspended. So his ability to either A, get the most out of Kyler Murray, or B, bring in and develop the next quarterback for the Cardinals. I could see Stefanski possibly as a fit out there in the desert.
Do you want some names that they've interviewed?
Sure.
So we got like Vance Joseph from the Broncos,
Interviewed
defensive
with
coordinator.
everybody.
Yep.
Yep.
Robert Saleh, defensive coordinator. Clint Kubiak, Seattle's offensive coordinator. Jeff Hatley, Arthur Smith, Jesse Minter, Mike LaFleur,
Yep.
um, Chris Shula,
Rams OC. Yep. Rams
uh,
DC.
and then Raheem Morris.
Raheem Morris is interesting.
Mm,
If he's ready to jump back into um, a rebuilding program, I think that that's what the Cardinals are going to need. So, yeah, I could see Raheem Morris. I think Stefanski would like to move into a little bit more stable situation, but I could see um, Raheem Morris going to Arizona. Vance Joseph's basically interviewing for every NFL opening right now.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think so too. Um, yeah, I would probably say if I had to pick a coach that would land here, I think I'm going to lean this is a Robert Saleh destination.
okay.
Yeah, I think defense is really what they're keen on. There's not much turnover that would have to be done moving from a Gannon 4-3 defense to a Saleh 4-3 defense. Um, and I just think Robert Saleh is going to get another look.
I do too. I think the two places that make most sense for Robert Saleh, in my mind,
Mm,
are Las Vegas. I
mm,
don't know that he's going to be the guy, but he makes a lot of sense. The other one is Pittsburgh. I think Saleh in
mm,
Pittsburgh, it's against the sort of traditional Steelers 3-4
yeah.
that he would bring in there, but I think he's also a good enough coach. I mean, hell, he went what 30 and or 20 and 36 in New York,
Mm-hmm.
and they've only gotten worse since he left. So it's not
100% agree.
like,
And they had strong defenses whenever he was there.
yeah,
And you look at what he's done with San Francisco. Um,
yeah, piece them together. That's so I think in a defense in that culture in Pittsburgh, I think he would be a good fit to uh replace Tomlin
yeah,
for the Steelers. So
yeah. That's a good one. Atlanta, who do you think?
um I could see Stefanski also. You're gonna hear Stefanski's name a couple of times.
Yeah,
Stefanski in Atlanta. I don't think we're gonna see Mike McDaniel in a head coach spot this year. I think he's gonna go take on an OC gig somewhere for a couple of years.
both have interviewed for head coach too.
Yep. Who was interviewed? Oh, have
Yeah,
interviewed in
Stefanski
Atlanta.
and McDaniel.
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Um,
Harbaugh as well.
Harbaugh, I again, I think that was my first guess. I think it makes a lot of sense to put Harbaugh in Atlanta, but I think the Giants makes more sense.
Yep.
I think you're going to see Atlanta take a chance on somebody that's got some offensive chops,
Yeah.
maybe a guy like LaFleur, Mike LaFleur,
Mhm.
Matt's brother. You got a whole lot of maybe even somebody like Nathan Shielhaas. That's, I mean, anybody coming out of the Rams or the Broncos right now. Their offenses are dynamic, so
Right.
people are interested. I think Clint Kubiak is going to get some sniffs.
That could make some sense.
That makes a little bit of sense in Atlanta.
Yep.
But I think the one who lands there is going to be Matt Nagy.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
I think that Arthur Blank is going to or is
Yeah.
looking for somebody that's a little proven, that's got some head coaching experience, not afraid to take a chance. I think
Oh,
Matt Nagy's gonna get another look in Atlanta this year.
that's bonkers.
Yeah,
I would hate to be a Falcons fan. But yeah, I feel like Kevin Stefanski is who I think ends up there. You just look at what he's done with quality running backs, and I think no matter what, this Atlanta hire has got to highlight Bijan Robinson,
yep,
no matter what. I think Clint Kubiak makes a lot of sense with a two-headed monster he's done in Seattle with Walker and uh
Charbonnet,
Renee. But I feel like Kevin Stefanski just fits the mold there.
yeah.
Now we get to the fun ones. Baltimore Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens, I see they're gonna pick up somebody from the defensive side. They're gonna bring a defensive background in.
I think so too.
I don't think it's gonna be Vance Joseph,
Right.
but I think it could be somebody like, Evero out of Charlotte.
Ooh, okay.
Um,
See, he's very underrated.
yeah, I agree. He's gonna get some looks. Jesse Minter
Yep,
could get a look in Miami.
for sure.
But I think that's where they're gonna look. I think it's gonna be one of those 2 guys, either Jairo, Evero or Jesse Minter, I think are
For
the
Baltimore.
for Baltimore, yeah.
Yeah. See, I have this as pencil in. I think this is going to be um a fight for this coach in this division.
Mm.
And I think that it's going to come down to Pittsburgh and Baltimore who gets to choose it. And I think Brian Flores makes the most sense here.
Yeah, Brian Flores it's a perfect fit in
Yep.
Pittsburgh, yeah, yeah.
He loves older defenses. Baltimore loves and already has an aging defense. Um, I just feel like he fits the mold for the NFC North. And so I think Brian Flores makes a lot of sense, but I also like your pull with Jesse Minter. I can see him also coming in. Because he's another up and coming defensive mind.
Yep.
Um,
And
but
that's where I think both of those teams, both the Ravens and Pittsburgh, are going to be looking for defensive-minded coaches. That's sort of the identity of both those franchises.
yeah, so who do we think Pittsburgh's going to pick?
Yeah, I think that Brian Flores is a perfect fit for Pittsburgh.
Ooh, okay.
I think Robert Saleh or Brian Flores, either one of those, they're combative, they're defensive focused. They sort of fit the Steeler vibe. So I would say one of those 2 is who's going to wind up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I'm gonna go a different route. So I have them losing out on Brian Flores
Mhm.
and him going to Baltimore. And I think yeah, whenever you think of Pittsburgh, they want to have just a coach that can grow for a long time.
Yep.
So I feel like it's gonna be a young cat, probably with name recognition. And there's not really a name out in the NFL that holds as much weight
Don't say it. Don't
as
say Chris
Chris
Shula.
Shula. And
No.
I think Chris Shula becomes the next Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. He's a
Wow.
young cat, grandson
Deep
of the greatest coach of all time.
Don. Yeah.
Um, and I just feel like he fits exactly what Pittsburgh wants. If they want a young, up and coming, bright mind that has skin on the wall, and a history in the NFL. And I just feel like Chris Shula in Pittsburgh is a match made in heaven, specifically with the rivalry that Pittsburgh also has with Miami.
Yep.
I feel like it's too good to pass up.
See, I have reasons for not wanting to see that happen. And he does. He checks the boxes. What he's been able to do with that Rams defense is pretty impressive.
Oh,
They don't have all the pieces, or they don't seem to have all the pieces yet. Yet that defense is greater than the sum of its parts. Um, so yeah, I hope you're wrong
yeah,
for selfish reasons.
yeah.
And we'll get to that in a minute.
And so let's go to his grandfather's team, who becomes Miami's coach.
Yeah, I think they're gonna go offense. I think they're going to need to look at, bringing in didn't I say Nagy? Where did I say Nagy?
Nagy, you said,
I thought that was Miami.
no, I think you said, Baltimore, didn't you?
No, maybe I did, but I shouldn't have. Yeah,
Or did you mean Nagy
I
for
meant yeah,
Miami?
I meant Nagy for Miami.
Oh, okay, that makes some sense.
I think they're gonna go for an offensive coach. They've got to either prop up, Tua and figure out if he's an NFL quarterback or not, or they're gonna have to go get a new quarterback and start over.
Not
Um
the Quinn Ewers experience.
yeah, and again, you bring a good quarterback or a good offensive mind, you'll find out very quickly whether a guy can do the job. Could be somebody like I don't think they'll take this big a stretch, but a guy like Davis Webb, who's quarterbacks coach in Denver, done a great job with Bo Nix. Is he going to get bumped up, skip the offensive coordinator, and get a head coach job? I don't think so. I think you're going to see either Matt Nagy or Mike LaFleur in
Yeah.
Miami as their head coach.
Interesting. I
Yeah,
have him going a different route. I think Jeff Hatley makes a lot of sense. I
fair.
think the defensive coordinator from Green
Green
Bay.
Bay. Yeah.
Um, I feel like they've gone on a trajectory of try out the offensive mind, see if that is what fixes it. And I think they're going to go, back to the kind of Brian Flores mold that they did before the McDaniel experience. And Jeff Hatley, I feel like fits a lot of what Miami already has. They've already interviewed him as well.
Hmm.
Um, I just feel like they might try to build this team back around the defense. I will say another one if the Pittsburgh thing falls with Shula, I would love to see Shula be in Miami. I just
Sure.
think that'd be so cool just as a NFL history fan. I just think that would be a phenomenal get. And then before we go to the Raiders, who ends up in Tennessee?
Yeah, Tennessee, I think is also they're gonna be looking for an offensive coach to continue to develop Cam Ward. I think you saw so I think one of these offensive minds, one of these offensive coordinators that are being interviewed for all the gigs, may end up there. I could see them taking sort of jumping over the coordinators and going with passing game coordinator again, Nathan Shielhaus. I think he's going to get a lot of looks this year. I know that the Raiders have requested interview with him. But yeah, I think you're going to see an offensive coach. They will probably not go. They'll probably not get that creative and make that big of a stretch. They need some stability in Tennessee, so it'll be a Kubiak or one of the LaFleur maybe whoever one of the offensive coordinators that's being shopped around.
Yeah, my pick for this one is the quarterback whisperer.
Ah,
I think he comes out of the good old cave in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and decides to come and coach again, and that is
Mike
Mr. Mike
McCarthy.
McCarthy.
Yeah, good call.
I just feel like um, if you're trying to develop a quarterback, specifically with who they've already interviewed, you're interviewing a Jason Garrett. You already had like Mike McCoy and these kind of offensive minds. They've done Matt Nagy as well. So it leads me to believe they're looking for someone to pair with Cam Ward. And I just feel like Mike McCarthy makes too much sense here.
Yeah, that's a good one. I could see McCarthy getting some interest out of Miami as well, but
Yeah,
yeah, McCarthy, Tennessee makes a lot of sense. The only one we haven't hit besides the Raiders, the Browns, and I have a pretty definitive where I'm going with that one.
I do too, but I don't think he's linked. But yeah, I want to hear. Yeah.
Vance Joseph.
Ooh, you're going Vance
I am
Joseph.
going Vance Joseph. I think
Oh,
that
that
the
would be
the Browns are ready to step up their defensive game. They're ready to step things up. He's going to need to bring in a really strong offensive coordinator to develop whoever their quarterback's going to be, whether it's Dylan Gabriel or Shador or if um, Deshaun ever comes back. We have no idea what the hell's going to happen with him. But
yeah.
I think
The
that
owner loves him.
I think that Vance Joseph is I think he's going to be the Browns head coach.
That I could see that. The thing that concerns me about Cleveland is that they have essentially been denying teams interviews with Jeff Schwartz or Jim Schwartz.
Hmm.
So it leads me to believe they want him as the defensive mind. in that organization. So going a defensive route, as much as I believe that that would make so much sense for Vance Joseph, and it would be absolutely disastrous for the NFL if he became the head coach because he is one of the best defensive minds. And pairing him with that caliber of defense, that would be pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that Cleveland is going to go a route that is a little bit kind of in your face. And
Mm,
I think that they're going to shock the world by bringing in and hiring Deion Sanders. And I
huh?
think Deion Sanders, ends up coaching his son in the NFL, and, essentially bringing in, an offense. And you look at what's occurred with
Mhm.
Colorado players have already started to put themselves in the portal, and that has my spidey senses kinda kicking up, like, what do they know that we don't know? Why are these top recruits, specifically like the left tackle that just put himself in the portal leaving Colorado. And does this mean that Dion's time in Colorado is coming to an end?
He did say that the only way he'd coach in the NFL is if he was coaching his son,
Yep.
so, yeah, don't know if that's the greatest move for Dion, but, hey, he's driving his own boat, man, so that would be interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, let's talk about the Raiders, but before we dive into who we think's gonna coach, like I said, I think Robert Saleh is getting some buzz in Las Vegas. I don't think he's gonna make it. I think that, like I said, I think he's gonna be under serious consideration. Pittsburgh. I want to talk a little bit about Patrick Graham. He has stuck around through three administrations now, under three head coaches. He's delivered a serviceable defense that's kept the Raiders in games they probably shouldn't have been in. Um, the Dolphins are interviewing him for a head coach gig. Washington's interviewed him for a defensive coordinator gig. The fact that he's never bubbled to the top as a serious candidate for the Raiders head coaching gig is a little perplexing to me. There must be a fundamental lack of confidence in his ability to lead at that level. If I'm him and I have the opportunity to move somewhere else where I could grow, I'm on it. As much as I love as a Raider fan and love having him in the booth running that defense, I wouldn't begrudge him leaving. Does he does he deserve a serious consideration as head coach of the Raiders? Is he a head coach kind of guy, or is he a little too chill?
Me personally, I think not. And I think even as a defensive coordinator, I think that he did as best as he could with the cards that he was dealt.
Mhm,
But even in his time in New York, I've always just thought Patrick Graham's defense is exploitable.
mm,
The defenses are okay. They're not top of the league, and they're not worst of the league. But whenever you get into tough games with powerhouses, it's just picked apart. And they play a lot of soft coverage. Um, and a lot of um essentially giving up things underneath. And I just feel like that defense, um if you're going to be that conservative, you have to essentially uh know when to pressure. And I don't feel like his defenses really have that tool. And of course, the if you look at the roster for the Raiders, the defensive side of the ball, doesn't have a lot of talent on
yep,
it. But I just feel like his system is just not one that I feel like warrants a head coaching gig. And I also feel like um I don't know. I feel like it potentially his message in that locker room, it feels like is a little bit drowned out. And I think, fresh ideas and fresh, voices on that defense, would do a lot of wonders for the Raiders. So, needless to say, I would say,
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great assessment, and this is I mentioned selfishly, I was hoping Chris Shula didn't go, anywhere else. I would whoever comes in as the head coach of the Raiders be able to get somebody like Chris Shula who's able to take less than stellar, less than Pro Bowl caliber talent and put it frankly disrupting games.
mhm,
That's what the Rams defense is doing. They're not they're not shutting folks out, but they're keeping their team in games. And I think with better talent, somebody like Chris Shula, I think could go a long way toward bringing sort of reawakening the Raiders defense.
yeah. And I'm surprised they haven't brought him in for interviews.
They've
Have they
requested.
requested?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they've requested as of yesterday, and this is obviously a constantly changing thing. They had an exploratory call with Harbaugh. If I'm
Yeah.
Harbaugh, I want nothing to do with that Las Vegas locker room.
And if I'm the Raiders, I want nothing to do with Harbaugh.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I think that's the kind of guy they need. Actually, Tomlin would be my first choice.
Yeah, same here.
So, and again, yeah, anyway. But they've interviewed, basically, they're taking the spaghetti approach. They're throwing spaghetti at the wall to see if anything will stick. So far, as of yesterday, they were up to 12 coaches that were being considered for their head coaching gig.
Yep.
Vance Joseph, these are the ones they've gone a first round of interviews with.
Gotta gotta pick in the division.
Yeah, Vance Joseph,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, Denver, Clint Kubiak, Matt Nagy, also in
Division.
division, Kevin Stefanski, and Davis Webb from the Broncos.
Yeah.
Those are the teams that they have.
2 Broncos, it's like they're trying to know what the rivals do.
Yeah, and see that just sticks in my craw a little bit,
And
but
1 Chief.
yeah,
It's like, "What give me the secrets. What's happening in the teams?"
yeah. So that's who they've interviewed. They've requested
Yep.
Giro Evero
Yep.
from
Panthers.
Carolina, Jeff Halfley from the Packers,
Green Bay.
Mike LaFleur from the Rams, offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Jesse Minter, another division guy.
Division.
Yep. Nathan Shielhaas from the Rams passing game coordinator.
Yep.
And then, of course, Chris Shula with the Rams on the defensive side. That's who they've requested.
So that kinda gets my antennas going that maybe, ooh, is this potentially a Rams pick? Because if they're interviewing all these guys, maybe they're also searching for coordinators. Because if I'm not mistaken, was it Scalise? How do you pronounce Nate's name? The
Shielhaas,
Shieldhouse,
yeah.
okay. The passing game coordinator, like that could be, moving into a defensive coordinator position. And then like a LaFleur, could potentially become head coach and have that be your DC, or Shula become the head coach, and then you have that as your OC and DC. But um I don't know, one name just hops off the page, and I'm like, "This is exactly who would unlock this Raiders offense."
I know where you're going.
And I thought Ben Johnson was the absolute key, last year,
Mhm.
for the Raiders. I thought that would have been the perfect hire, and many speculate, that's essentially what Brady kind of was wanting and was really pushing for
Yeah.
and just wasn't given the opportunity for it.
Ben Johnson was Brady's first choice.
So that leads me to believe they want a young offensive mind that's just now cracking in to the league and become the next Sean McVay, become the next Kyle Shanahan. And I feel like that's Clint Kubiak.
Could be the guy, and
I really do.
I'm warming up to that idea. As I mentioned, he has interviewed with the Raiders, gone through the first round of interviews with them.
But
So
you
yeah.
look at the way Seattle runs their offense.
Mhm.
It's directly through the run game.
Yep.
And you already invested very high capital in your running back in Ashton Genty. And it's not like Seattle's offensive line is they've put forth a lot of resources to it. It's very much so pieced together.
Mm.
And you look at what Houston's offensive line was whenever he was down in Houston as well. and they still had productive run games,
Yep.
with Joe Mixon and such. So I think Clint Kubiak in this offense, even with a developing offensive line, with Ashton Genty, which you don't have, star-studded wide receivers. You have really good blocking inline tight ends, that can be receiver threats. I feel like Clint Kubiak is the perfect pick to become the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Bring up to that idea, just simply because of what he's been able to do in Seattle. I think that that is more a reflection. The stability of that Seattle offense is a reflection of Kubiak's influence there. However, I think it's the Seahawks defense that is what's
The
going to
calling
carry.
card.
Yeah, that's what's going
Right.
to carry him to the Super Bowl.
That's fair.
So I don't. Yeah, I'll be candid. Where I'm at with the Raiders head coaching search is I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, given the chaos that's gone on inside that building, given the fact that there seems, at least last year, there was disagreement between Brady and Mark and Spytek. Well, the Spytek. Brady wanted Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson wouldn't even return phone calls. They ended up settling on Pete Carroll, which was asinine, made no sense at the time. It was a horrible idea. Again, great as a 74-year-old, horrible as an NFL head coach. Just, yeah,
Chip Kelly.
yeah, Chip Kelly, that whole situation where they brought him in against, again, Brady's wishes and against Carroll's wishes. He
Yeah.
didn't pick him. So there's chaos, and hopefully, and I think this is what Mark talked about doing, is bringing in the football mind. He acknowledges that his dad had the football background and had the football mind. It's at one point, um, to be able to make those football decisions. Mark knows he does not have that level of understanding of the football side of things to be able to make those really, really rational, good football decisions. That's
God, to have a self-aware owner.
Yeah, that's now being aware of that and doing all the things necessary and making the decisions necessary to fix it or to overcome that is a different thing. And that's what we've seen with Mark. He's had a very quick um, trigger finger. And we've gone through a whole mess. We're talking about the Steelers have had three coaches since 1969. The Raiders had three coaches in 2021. And that's, all under Mark's watch. So bringing Brady in as an ownership stake, giving him some control of football. Now there are limitations on what Brady can do as a minority owner who's not a family member of the majority owner, in terms of running the franchise. He does have a voice, perhaps a disproportionately large voice, compared to other teams with similar situations. Um, but yeah, they've got to start making some decisions that last. Flipping this every year is just, it's just pathetic.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and
just sad.
specifically, if you go and draft a quarterback,
Yeah.
you cannot have instability whenever you're trying to develop an offensive mind. Um, so you have to have some sort of stability.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, 3 coaches in 3 years, that's not really what you want, in a locker room.
Yeah.
Uh, to be fair, the entire team quit on Pete.
Yeah.
Um, and the entire team quit on McDaniels.
Yep.
Um, they really fought for Antonio Pierce. Before that they fought for Rich Bisaccia. Um, but they were kind of stuck in that situation with P that yeah, they would have been more smart just to hold on to Antonio Pierce. But I don't know if they get the number one overall pick if they did that. And
Ye
luckily, the dysfunction that Pete Carroll came in with, at least allowed them to suck so bad that they can get their franchise quarterback and not have to be, patching it together instead of turning the page.
Yeah, no bringing in any more Geno Smiths. They need to fix this. They need to get on a track that has some stability, that's actually moving in the right direction, and they've just been wholly incapable of that. It's maddening.
So if you had to just pick, who would you pick?
I would love to see my first choice would be Tomlin.
Donald?
I don't think because he's gonna come in, not take any shit.
Yeah,
He's going to build the culture. The standard is the standard,
yeah,
and that's just what it's gonna be. A lot of guys are gonna get that are Raiders are gonna get run out. They're gonna be held accountable to that standard. Um, so I'd love to see that. I think Robert Saleh, he's getting a little bit of buzz, starting to build up some interest in Las Vegas. I could see Robert Saleh coming in. I don't know that he is right now. The Raiders need an iron fist, and I don't mean like come in because Tomlin's players loved him, but
right,
there was never any misunderstanding of who was in charge or what was expected.
for sure.
And his players loved him. They ran through walls for him. That's the kind of head coach we need. I don't think it's a Harbaugh. I don't think a young coach is going to be able to come in and take command of this team that at this point, frankly, is being led by Max Crosby. Um, that is the leader. So yeah, I don't know. I, I
Yeah,
I literally don't know.
that's fair.
Clint Kubiak, I get it. I
Yep.
get I get your argument there.
Vance Joseph could make some sense.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Vance Joseph.
That's fair.
As he had a head coaching chance and
Yeah,
wasn't super impressive, but yeah.
yeah,
Anyway,
definitely agreed.
so the real answer is I don't know.
That's
I
fair.
I will be sad to see Patrick Graham leave, but I think it's time for him to go. I think the new coach, whoever it is, needs to bring in a dynamic defensive mind. We absolutely need some creativity on the offensive side of things,
Yeah,
but more importantly, we need stability at the head coach um, if we're going to ever make a change.
yeah. A lot of Rams coming in for interviews though. That perks up my ears. That
Yeah,
makes me wonder.
yeah, they're getting a lot of interest across the league.
Yep.
All right, we are down to the final, what, 6, 8 teams, in the playoffs. We are at our rapid fire. My surprise line of the week has changed. It was the fact that up until yesterday, Buffalo was favored by 1.5 at Denver. Denver, number 1 seed by at home in Mile High, and Buffalo was favored by 1.5 as of right before the recording this on Wednesday, the 14th. Um, Denver is now favored by 1.5. Makes a little bit more sense, but either way, that's awfully close.
Yeah.
Um, so bettors have a lot of confidence in Buffalo.
That's yeah. I think you could consider me better then. Because I think that line makes more sense than a Denver 1.5.
You
And
think Buffalo favored by 1.5 makes more sense?
yeah, I just think Buffalo's a better team.
Yeah.
And more just if it comes down to a shootout, I'm trusting a Josh Allen to win a shootout, even against one of the best defenses in a very tough environment. I just feel like Josh Allen has the skins on the wall. And what really big game have we seen Bo Nix in?
Yep.
And more importantly, what big games has Bo Nix put himself in?
Right.
So I think that this is a tough situation to be Denver, and really they would have been more happy to play, a Chargers or a Houston than it is a Buffalo coming in. But I think my surprising line of the week is this San Fran Seattle matchup. Seattle being a whole touchdown favorite at home. That's incredible to me. As much as I want to believe in that Seattle defense being as dominant as they were in the regular season, no matter what, whenever these two teams play each other, it's really competitive. And so for it to be a full touchdown advantage, I just don't see that.
I'll
And I'm shocked by that.
I'll be honest, I think that is more a reflection of the physical condition of the, um, 49ers. They're just beat up. George Kittle's out. Trent Williams is, strained hamstring away from being gone.
Sure, but they're top. defensive player is expected to be back in Fred Warner.
Yep.
So they're getting it's the flip of the coin, you know. George Kittle, of course, being out, but to be fair, Kittle was out majority of the year
Yep.
this year. So you know, they had Tonja step up and I don't know how much of a difference he's gonna make. So yeah, that line is more shocking to me than
Yeah.
the other ones.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't disagree with that. Like I said, I think that's just a reflection of the gamblers that are looking at the injuries on San Francisco
Crazy.
going in to play Seattle yet again this year. So,
Yep.
all right, game of the week. Which game do you see is going to be the game?
Ooh, I would say game of the week for me. I think the one that's going to be the most fun is again that San Fran Seattle matchup. The division rivalry, going against each other. These two teams hate each other. Um, oh, two really good teams. You know, Seattle's, you know, kind of ran the entire NFC. And then San Fran, you know, for historically has just that's been their division. So them going against each other, I think that is going to be the best matchup of this division round.
Yeah, and you've got two teams that have in 2 games that they split. They split during the regular season. They scored a total of, it looks like, just real quick calculation, 46 points combined for both games.
Yep.
You're gonna see some gnarly defenses. I looked at that game. I think it's gonna be a great game, but my game of the week is gonna be Buffalo at Denver for all the reasons you just mentioned. Is Bo Nix for real? Is Sean Payton gonna get his panties handed to him by Josh Allen in Mile High? I'm not a Sean Payton fan. Can you tell that? Does that come through?
That's
Not a
fair.
big fan, especially
Hey,
now that he's in
he's a
Denver.
Denver head coach,
Yeah,
no matter what, whoever it is.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it could be freaking John Madden himself if he's in a Denver hat. You know, I think I would bet you not liking him. So
That's a safe bet,
yeah.
and, you know, they said that Saturday 3:30 game, Denver, Buffalo at Denver, I think is the one I'm most looking forward to, although San Francisco, Seattle is a close one, the evening game Saturday night.
I just feel like the Saturday lineup is so much better than the Sunday lineup.
Very strong.
And that's just me personally.
Yep,
Because yeah, Buffalo Denver would be my second one.
yeah.
Though I am excited about the Rams Chicago matchup.
All right, so who you picking? Let's start Saturday, the early game,
Get
Denver Buffalo.
give me the Bills. Is this the Bills' year? Are they finally going to shock the world? I think if I had to put down a score, I would say probably Bills 27, Denver. I feel like that Denver offense. I just don't trust them, and I think it's just going to be the Bills game from the jump. So give me Buffalo winning by a mile.
Yeah, I've got Buffalo winning this one as well. I think it's going to be a little bit more high scoring. I think both teams' offenses are going to um, deliver. I think it's going to be 31-29, but also the Bills. Next up, Saturday evening, the other game we talked about, your game of the week, Seattle or San Francisco at Seattle on Saturday night. Seattle favored still by 7 points. Let me check that, see if that's still accurate. But yeah, who you got?
God, my millennial football fan heart is going absolute crazy. You got D'Amico Ryans versus Mike Vrabel. Oh my goodness. If you would have told 12-year-old Charlie this would be a division matchup, I would be absolutely thrilled.
Yeah,
Two quality linebackers in their own right, you know, leading their teams as head coaches now. Just incredible to see. I Again, I love a Cinderella story. I love what Mike Vrabel has done in New England. CJ Stroud turned the ball over, I think, 4 times
yep. Well, he lost,
this past week.
recovered to his own fumbles, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
But yeah, that ball security with the caliber of offense that you have in New England, that's going to spell trouble. So I got New England winning. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a little bit of a defensive bout. Give me at 23-20, New England winning.
gotcha. I've got the Patriots too, not too horribly far off. I've got it 27-17. But I've got the Patriots taking that at home against sending Houston home for the year Houston, they won what, 10 in a row now, 9 in a row.
I think so.
So yeah, they finished strong. They did what they had to do to get into the playoffs. They're still here. Jacksonville's not. So, and Indiana's been in Mexico for a week.
And New England, they haven't played many um, winning teams this year. So this is going to be a good test. Arguably the best defense that they face this season.
New England and Denver, both of them
Yeah.
had fairly gentle schedules. So now things are going to get escalated.
Yep.
All right, next up, we talked San Francisco, Seattle. In Seattle, Seattle favored by 7 points. You think that's absurd?
I do.
What do you got?
Because I think it's absurd because you have Sam Darnold coming into this game as the quarterback. Sam Darnold is great. He's great all the way until you get to a game that actually matters. And then Sam Darnold morphs into Kirk Cousins. This is going to be San Fran. I got the 49ers beating Seattle. I love the story of Seattle. I think that defense is, arguably the best defense in the National Football League. McDonald has done a wonderful job. Kubiak is, definitely allowed Sam Darnold not to have to press much. But San Fran, after playing this team twice this year, these two teams know each other. And I just think that San Francisco just looks like a team that's going to be very tough to stop. They dominated against Philadelphia, even with the amount of injuries they had. I just think this might be San Fran's year. Give me San Francisco winning. I gotta be in a defensive matchup, so give me going 24 to 20.
Right. I, on the other hand, am taking the Seahawks. I think that the Seahawks defense is going to give Brock Purdy fits. I think the absence of George Kittle as a security blanket for Purdy is going to be um, highlighted. I think Christian McCaffrey, the Seattle defense, is going to keep him contained. You can never stop him, but I think they're going to focus on making somebody else beat them, and I'm not sure that there is that somebody else on the 49ers offense. So I've got the Seahawks winning this one pretty handily at home, 31-17. And then finally, the game nobody's talking about, the Rams, low-key sneaking into Chicago. Nobody believes in Chicago. I never believed in the Rams. Rams favored by 3.5 on the road in Chicago.
Yeah, see, I picked the Rams to win the Super Bowl, but goodness gracious, does my football heart want Chicago to win. I just want the entire Chicago franchise just to be dominant again. I think that is a historic franchise that has been, kind of pushed into the shadows for so long. I'm sure they had a little bit of a run with
Walter
Brian
Payton.
Urlacher and Lance Briggs and that team back with Lovey Smith. But you got to go all the way back to, yeah, you were talking about
86.
Sweetness and
Jim
Jim
McMahon and the
McMahon,
46
Mike
defense.
Singletary.
Yep.
But I feel like this Rams team might give them fits. I love Ben Johnson. I love everything that he's built. But if you are asleep for 3 quarters against a team that essentially can score at will, that's going to put your team in a hard deficit. So give me the Rams winning, unfortunately. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. Give me a 33-31 Rams win.
All right, interesting. I have got the Bears winning this
Oh, I
uh
love it.
little closer, 27-23. I'm looking at Matthew Stafford banged up his index finger last week. It's just strange. They
Yep.
said everything's going to be fine, but we'll see. His ball was floating a little bit last week in Charlotte. Going into Chicago is a whole nother world. They're
And number one turnover team too on that defense.
Yeah, now a lot of that is just kind of breaks, but you've got a team that's forcing that's going to put pressure on Stafford, and he is the engine of that Rams offense. No matter what
100%.
else you say, he's my pick for the MVP.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just going to be a a little bit too much. And some of this is I have not believed in the Rams all year, but what I'm beginning to see out of Caleb Williams is he is taking that leap kind of before our eyes. I watch some of the things he does. They're almost Mahomes-esque. but taking it to another level. I think he's got a stronger arm than Mahomes, but he can make all the throws off platform. He can do all those things. He can be off balance and deliver. He was
Yeah, that Jordan ball he threw.
God, but
Yeah, it was
running
crazy.
hard left and just shooting
Yeah,
a laser down the field.
yeah.
I think that Caleb is playing with a chip on his shoulder. I think that entire team is playing with a chip on their shoulder. I think Ben Johnson is done a tremendous job. And yeah, so I get the Bears win this one at home, 27-23.
Heck yeah. Yeah, no, I would love to see it. Specifically that last touchdown play. That was just that play in and of itself was a pure product of a offensive mastermind.
Yeah.
You have a screen pass where the blocker sneaks out into essentially a post route. Just unbelievable. Fooled the entire defense. That's just a pure kind of showcase of what Ben Johnson is.
Well, and you don't leave any of those creative plays in the playbook at
Yep.
this time of year. This is why you have them. When you need to win a game, you step in and you pull those plays out.
And you don't win games in the first, second, or third quarter. You
Right.
win the third.
Win in the fourth.
Yep.
That's it. All right. Well, we have reached time. Diane is wrapping Patchouli Joe's up. So yeah, we are let's call it a wrap. We're
Let's do it.
ready to roll into division weekend.
Heck yeah.
And we are the Raiders still on the clock, anxious to see who they bring into the clubhouse to
Yep.
get that team together. But and I know you got some coordinator spots to fill on the
Sure.
Cowboys.
Yeah, and Cowboys got that number 20 pick. Thank you, Chicago, for beating Green Bay.
There you go.
I appreciate the 12 and the 20 pick.
And in the meantime, we will be back next week to talk about the conference championship games. And in the meantime, go silver and black.
Go silver and blue.
Peace.
This is the Patchouli Podcast Network.